Arkansas, number 24, Mizzou. Mizzou's a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under I have is 6 mentions of this game no longer being played on Black Friday. Yeah, that's going to be weird. Yeah, I usually like this one on Black Friday. Sam Pittman disagrees with that. He's like, hey, haven't had success with this. Might as well play it on Saturday. I don't hate it. But for those of us who watch this game from home, I kind of like that it's, like late afternoon, CBS alternate crew coming on. You're like, who's the play-by-play again? Oh, yeah, Noah Eagle was on the call a couple of years ago. Oh, who's on it this year? Battle line rivalry totally isn't manufactured at all. Very legit.
Line?
Yeah, Battle Line.
Sure.
Yeah. This is the game. This is a little bit wordy, but an alternate title for this rivalry could be the teams who hate everyone else more than anyone hates them. That's what Arkansas and Mizzou are. They would admit that. They would. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Arkansas-Texas thing was kind of played out, how much Arkansas hates Texas and how little Texas thinks about Arkansas. They know. They understand. Either way, really fun down to the wire game or totally lopsided, turn it off by halftime. That's this rivalry. That's what this is. No in between whatsoever. Arkansas has never won in Columbia. 0-6, including the 1906 showdown back in the Teddy Roosevelt administration. Who could forget that?
I'm sure he was there. That sounds like his type of bag.
Could have been. I wonder what people 100 years ago would have thought of Luther Burden III. Like, how many statues would he have?
They would worship him like a god. Travis Hunter, buddy, they'd be like, we need to make this guy president. Like, I'm scared of this guy.
Babe Ruth, Luther Burden III, Walter Johnson. Notice I'm only naming baseball players now. Mm-hmm. These are our heroes. These are the gods that we will worship in this country. Put them on some currency. Could Luther Burden III have been on the quarter in 1906?
Probably. Yeah.
Probably. I think so. How fun would it be to hear announcers with old-timey voices react to the things that Luther Burden could do?
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, you've just realized, I don't know if we've talked about this, but one of my things is always be scared of a young guy with an old guy name. Luther Burden III is an old guy name. Like, he would sound great on like an old-timey Luther Burden III.
It's a good point. It's a really good point. All right, now I can see it. We're doing a lot of this now. Like because slavery was a thing for as long as it was, and we're going to put black people into roles that they weren't in when in historical depictions and stuff like that. I just want to see Luther Burden in a 1906 black and white like football game and just announcers going back and forth. All right, like I think that'd be an incredible thing to be able to watch. There's a chance that Luther Burden III, this is his last game in a college uniform. Okay. And I'm not going to do the whole, like, should guys opt out of bowl games thing, but I'll just say brace yourselves for that possibility because this is a projected first rounder. This is the way that things go. Mizzou's not going to be playing in the playoff. I think that he goes off in this one, Will. I think Brady Cook enjoys his final Mizzou home game. Similar to 3 years ago in this game, Traylon Burks, he went off and it was his final game. It was kind of his send-off at Arkansas, and Arkansas fans were like, man, I'm going to miss that guy. They have missed that guy. Andrew Armstrong's a great player. Traylon Burks was very, very special. Mizzou fans will miss Luther Burden when his college career is done. If it is over at the conclusion of Saturday's game, I think they will look back and be like, man, it was fun to watch him. Glad that he got to go out on a high note. I think that happens. I think Taylor Green struggles against that Mizzou defensive line, which is still playing really hard. I think Mizzou wins by 3 scores, 35-14. Drink gets win number 9.
Man, as you were talking about this game being played on Friday, I wish maybe we could have Pittman on the podcast again after he retires in several years or whatever. I just want to see the conversations that Pittman has had with Hunter Yurachek about scheduling. Because think about the things this man has had to do. He had to go to BYU, Cincinnati, playing on Fridays. He wasn't home for a month and a half last year. And he's just sitting there like, Hunter, come on, man.
I don't think that's a Yurachek thing though. I don't think that's these matchups are scheduled that was
no, that's an SEC thing for sure. It's just uniquely Sam Pittman has to deal with all of this weird scheduling stuff. 2 SEC teams play on Friday. It's him. I've seen one SEC team go to BYU. It's him. It just always ends up being Sam Pittman in this buddy cop hijink.
This is normal though. You just get to go play on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
This is actually a more normal thing. Go to Columbia. late in the year, it's probably going to be really, really cold. I
Mhm.
haven't looked at the weather just yet. Maybe that's the thing is you got to go to a very northern team in the SEC late in the season. Maybe that's a bummer. I don't know, but it could be weird. Was it Chuck Long who's the AD before who probably scheduled all these matchups, and then he was the one who hired Les Miles at Kansas and basically didn't do a background check. Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, I mean that's what happened. Yeah. Anyway, on this one, actually, you know what, man? I think I'm gonna take Arkansas at an upset here. I think that
Oh,
they have about one more of these in them. They've been a little bit frisky this year. They've stayed with some good teams. We saw that against Texas a little bit. I think Mizzou. Yeah, they had the South Carolina game where they came back a little bit, but okay, talked about like the hollow season and how water finds its level. This is a 24th ranked Mizzou team. If they beat Arkansas, very, very conceivable they finish the year ranked. And this year is not really seen as a failure per se. Like I think even Mizzou fans after a couple of weeks were like, "This is not a top 10 team. We
yeah.
are not going to expect this." So yeah, I think this should be they beat Arkansas. They get some random bowl game. One thing about Brady Cook is he'll be, not Brady Cook, but like just the leadership of this team. They will be playing in this bowl game because we've seen that over and over and over again from the leadership of this team. And I could see them going 2-0 in those games, finishing ranked. However, it is Mizzou, and that's usually just not how things work. I think that Arkansas with Taylor Green and like the players that they've had, I think they create a couple of weird turnovers, and they end up in kind of a rock fight, which could go either way. And I'll say it goes Arkansas's way. We'll call it in the 20s here. So it's about 25, 28.
You know what I realized? And maybe in circles of Mizzou Twitter, I should have texted with Adam Spencer to see if he was aware of this as well. And I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't realize this until now, until doing prep for talking about this game. Brady Cook played in 5 games in 2021. If he had played in 4 instead of 5, he would have another year of eligibility and would be able to come back in 2025. He didn't even attempt to pass in this game 3 years ago. But Drink brought him in for that final series when they gave Tyler Beatty all of those carries, and they were just trying to pad his stats at the end of that. And Drink was so focused on that he might have blanked on the bigger picture, because then Connor Bazelak transfers, Brady Cook starts in the bowl game, the Armed Forces Bowl. And that was his 5th game. And at the time, that still counted against the 4-game threshold. We talked about that and why that was significant with Nussmeier as well. But now that's different. And now that doesn't count against your total, and it's 4 regular season games. Brady Cook's not going to petition the NCAA or anything, because he's like, if you followed him on social media, he's talked about one last ride, senior day, all those different things. But just something that you look back on, you're like, oh, that's really interesting. If you would how different would these conversations be if Brady Cook was coming back next year? And again, this is somebody who graduated 2 years ago. And I think Matt got his master's a long time ago. I don't think he quite went Tyler Shuck and got his master's 2 years ago. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But this would have been a different sort of transition year next year. And you knew that you would likely be losing Luther Burden. You'd be losing Weiss and a lot of these pass catchers. But hey, you get some right guys in the portal and just kind of make this still work and make this more of a 3-year window with Brady Cook. And instead, it's kind of like you look back and wonder, if you had just played him in one less game in garbage time, you could have had another year. Again, maybe I'm just connecting too many dots here, but something that I was thinking about looking at this game, just trying to make sure that there was no possible way that we could hear afterwards, Brady Cook actually didn't partake in senior day activities, and he's going to run it back for another year.
Yeah, one thing about Drink is he is a football innovator, and sometimes that works, and sometimes he's giving people blankets and playing people to hand off the ball. And also, I want to apologize. I just physically watched someone grind 3 stumps outside of my window, so I was a little bit shocked
It's a
for
sight.
that.
It's a real sight. Yeah.
I can't believe that happened in the middle of this podcast. But the reason I was like, oh, Brady Cook, I was living in fear of the injury report, which I shouldn't do because Brady Cook is fine now. So when I said the leadership, I don't think Luther Burden will play in the bowl game. I think Brady Cook likely will, because he's the type of guy that Drink's daughter would like to date. So he's going to be there for the program, right? That's a quote if you guys haven't been here with us for a while. But point being, this is it's pretty interesting, right? Because they could kind of run it back, but I know they got their guy kind of waiting in the wings. I'm fascinated now that I think about
it. I don't know that Sam Horn could be getting that type of love when he's coming off Tommy John surgery. I don't know.
We did talk about that. Yeah, the Tommy John. Yeah,
I think
this is going to be this is going to be a weird team next year. It's going to be an interesting team. But yeah, everything is lining up for this to be a nice send off for Brady Cook. And Mizzou just doesn't like to have nice things. If they can buck that trend, I think it would be a really good send off for Brady Cook. Where you talked about starting his career, weird Armed Forces game, Battle of the Connors, as you remember. There was just like all this stuff, this tumultuous stuff going on in the start of his career. And if he could just ride off in the sunset, I'm rooting for it. To be clear, I'm rooting for it. I hope it happens.
What was the Battle of the Connors?
Basilak and who's the other Connor? There's another Connor involved in that whole thing. But anyway,
I am Connor. In case you forgot, Connor. What is I battling Connor Basilak? He's a friend of the program. He came on.
A good question. I threw that in there. I remember we talked about it at the time. Doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, I think that this would be a nice send off to finish the season strong. I'm rooting for it, but I think Sam Pittman, Arkansas, Taylor Green, they're just the chaos quotient. And this rivalry has been weird. To your point about a rivalry that doesn't super fit anywhere. I'll be locked into this one for sure.
Yeah. Saturday afternoon, of course.